Hello, and welcome to episode 10 of TaitanoArt. I'm revisiting some older art and redrawing some older things that I had done through the years. This picture, I believe, was done in 2000, and it's the one on the left. The one on the right is the revision or the newer version in the style that I use these days. So I start out usually with a rough body, which I had kind of started, and then I realized that maybe I should probably videotape it, so that's the reason why it's partially already drawn. And so far it's turned out pretty good. I added a lot more detail than the original, if you can tell, but that's because I'm more capable than I used to be. And I tend to like to use HB lead and B lead. More B these days because of how much darker it is, and it blends easier. And it's also less shiny, so it shows up a lot better. So in my past videos, I was more using an HB lead, and it turned out fine, and it definitely smudges and blends less easily, so it stores better. But the B turns out just better in general because of the blacks that come out of it. There are darker leads, but I don't think for mechanical pencils, and that's kind of what I like to use. So the things that used to get me really excited when I was a kid, because I started drawing at the age of 8, and oh no, that's not true, maybe earlier, but I seriously started thinking about drawing at the age of 8, and that's when I started getting into artwork. And I had a few people that I really liked art-wise, and for me, I'm a bit older, so I remember when I had to go and rent anime videos from a local Korean market that had dubs because it wasn't popular or around anywhere. And Dragon Ball didn't come in English at all. It wasn't on TV. And so you had to go and find a VHS tape that had been dubbed poorly with all the Korean and Japanese commercials, and watch them like that, being confused as to what was going on. But it was still really cool because the art was amazing. But Akira Toriyama was really cool. But I actually grew up with American comic book artists. So guys like Joe Quesada, Jim Lee, to name a few. I remember when I was very small, I had drawn some pictures of some Joe Quesada artwork and sent it over just because I was excited, and he sent me back a sketch, and that was like the coolest thing I had ever seen. And then as I did artwork and progressed, and I'm not going to say it was fast progression by any means, I kind of just ran around and did stuff at conventions, and then fell out. But I never stopped drawing. I just stopped doing comic art. And my interests went here and there, from like fantasy art to some pinup stuff to back to comic books, and then back to manga or manga, depending on how you say it, or you want to say it, or how you should say it. They varied a lot, and I've experimented with different styles. And then I got into role-playing games like D&D, Rifts, different games like that, and that kind of even more fueled my creativity and the things that I thought about as far as like accessories, details, why these characters were doing the things that they were doing. And it all eventually came together. And I'm getting much more into my art. For a long time, I got into cars, and that was fun. But I don't know. There's a point where you just kind of go back to doing what you really enjoy. And I still enjoy cars, but it's kind of a thing that I need to take a break from. I have another channel called Modded Garage on YouTube, and I think the last video I made was a few months ago. But it's got some content and some followers. If you want, you can check it out. But that's my other hobby, is automotive. I've built a few different vehicles, from front-wheel drive to front-wheel drive turbo to all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive V8, and a few different platforms. I've repaired a lot of cars, or built them from the ground up, and it's fun. I like it. But I think that if you stay on only one thing, you tend to stagnate, and I don't know if it's... So yeah, check out my other channel, Modded Garage, on YouTube. But back to the art stuff. I think right now my current people that inspire me, there's a lot. Mike Mignola, I said that right. Kim Jung-gi. There are so many artists on the internet now that are amazing. And being a bit older, it's interesting to see a lot of these younger kids doing some of the stuff that they're doing. And I'm really glad that everybody has the access that they have now to learn, because it's really useful, and the competition is crazy. So yeah, let's see. There are a few different people that I am really into as far as art, and right now I am checking them out. Boichi is one manga artist who is extremely good and does really great pen work, either on actual paper or digitally. I think that drawing tablets, like the ones that have the screens inbuilt with the stylus that you use on a computer, like the Wacom's, which are crazy expensive, or the Huions, are excellent. And there are a lot of different programs you can use. Krita is a really good free program that you can do line work and colors in. Photoshop is just crazy overpriced, and I don't know. I don't feel like for the money the features hit the mark. I know a lot of people feel they need that type of software, but I don't think that you do. Although I do use it myself, but I'm starting to lean towards Krita. So in this area is where I start to define more of the direction of the light, and as the video goes, we'll start to see that I start to add smaller details, and I like to add a line that defines the shadow versus the unshadowed area, and that allows me to kind of like just plot where the darker areas are going to go, because in this type of art, because I do a few different, I like to define the shadows and all the details with smaller marks, and it's not really an inkable technique. I mean, I guess you could, yeah, but it's going to be really tricky. It's more like what Travis Charest does, although I don't claim to be as good as him. Travis Charest is a really amazing comic book artist, but it is in certain ways similar. His hyper detailed, and I like to do that with pencil, not so much pen, although, you know, if I took the time I could, but this was already backbreaking. This was like 2.5 hours of this, and like a normal drawing, just a general one that has figures with a basic shading or like inking, doesn't necessarily take so long, but the type of shading that I like to do can quadruple the amount of time that the drawing takes to put out. Like in my previous videos, I did one of Link and Girahim from Skyward Sword, which was an excellent game. That was so much fun. And that took few days broken up because I was only able to do it after work. And the amount of detail required for all of the character stuff, the shield, chainmail, all of the little stuff underneath Garham's cloak, just took forever. It took absolutely an insane amount of time. And the work involved in doing that is pretty intense. So I want to figure out a few different styles and backgrounds, which is something that I added to a few of the drawings I have recently. I've been working in more because I'm good at backgrounds or characters, and usually I get so into a character that I end up like half-assing a background because I want to get it done. But recently, and I would say in the past couple of months, I've really decided that completionism is an important thing for learning. And I think that if you don't take the time to finish a piece of art, even if you're tired of it, that you're not learning anything. Whether that's good or bad, you're not learning anything valuable. So I've been really forcing myself to draw and finish multiple pieces of artwork at a time, but to actually finish them and take the time to do that. So now I'll be working on probably 3 or 4 pieces of art, either at work or at home or combined. So 2 at work or 2 at home or whatever, and I will let them sit and work on them, and then I will get them done, probably working on all of them about the same time, but I'll finish them successively. And it's been a good experience because I'm always working on something no matter where I'm at, but I'm learning a lot because I'm kind of completing them in total. And it forces me to really think a lot harder because I'm not like, oh well, if I don't want to do this, I'm not going to do it. That's not the old me. The old me would have just drawn up to the point where I was tired of it and just kind of quit and moved on to something else that I felt more interested in. And that doesn't work in the real world, especially with people who want art or clients who need you to do something. And considering that I want to get back into this, seriously again, as a way to make money or try to, no, you know what, it's not even that. I mean, it would be nice to make money at it, but I really just want to get back into it because I really love this. I miss this a lot. And in doing all the guitar stuff, I kind of fell out of it. But back to it, as you can see with the legs, I've kind of used these small scribble marks, which works really well to define the curves. Sometimes even the materials, like the highlights, metals, you can do a lot with shading. Just takes a long time, and I don't like smudgy shading that a lot of people use. It doesn't look that good to me because there's no definition, and when you're adding a lot of line work, you can work in tight details in like creases, where if you were to totally smudge everything, which I do in this a bit to smudge certain things, but it's only areas that you can't see any definition, and I really like to work in those small details. I don't always work solely with a silhouette like I do here. So, like these boots that I'm drawing, I don't often do this. I will really work and flesh out the body, shaping it out, and then the musculature. But considering that I already had the pose that I wanted on the left in my old drawing, and I wanted to kind of keep it to that and then update this either with new details or whatever, I had a guideline kind of already, so I had no reason to flesh it out. Like in the link photo that I did, or the drawing that I did, or the Saitama one, or even the Deathstroke and Gray Fox drawing. Gray Fox was a Metal Gear Solid. I chose to shape out, actually I did a few revisions, shaping out all of these different angles using, primitives to make their bodies. This one I didn't have to do that, but in a lot of the other drawings I did, and that takes a bit more time. But having something that you've already done kind of allows you to have a roadmap of what you need to do immediately. So this drawing turned out faster, even though I had to add details, because I was able to just do the outlines. I think if there's a guy that I would like to kind of figure out some stuff from, more anyways, is Kim Jung-gi. Is very amazing at freehand sketching and without planning, and that's actually a good skill, and I get how he does it, because I can do that in my own style. Not nearly as good, and that's the one thing that I want to impress upon anybody who sees my artwork or my videos, is that I don't think I'm amazing at all. I think I'm a good artist, but I'm not like top tier or top notch. I want to improve really bad, but his art is really good in the sense that you can just go from like the left side of a canvas or the right side of a canvas and continue and fill it all with things, people, and objects at very, very extreme camera angles, so well, and that's quite a skill, especially if your improvisational drawing is as strong as that. It's just really staggering. So I would love to learn more of that, and I may do a live video where I either draw something similar or humiliate myself. But I guess you never know until you try, and maybe some of you will tune in. But yeah, that's another artist that I can think of that's extremely good. And it looks like in my drawing that we're kind of coming to the end. And as you can see, I'm considering the light sources, and all of these things you kind of have to consider. I actually, in my head, I do kind of see an orb, and I see an angle and where it's coming from, and that kind of guides me to add my details where I need to. And in that sense, it helps me to do the shading and figure out where the highlights will be. Like on these boots, how the top of the boots and the knees kind of are a lot lighter than other objects. I think it's because in my head, that's where I see the light kind of bouncing back at the viewer, because light doesn't specifically come from the light source. It hits everything and then heads towards your eyes. So that's why metals look so strange. That's why glass looks so odd. I mean, it's a really odd thing to think about, but light can bounce in a million different places before it ever hits you in the eyes. So that's why everything is so hard to replicate on a drawn surface. Even when painting, even a full color picture that looks beautiful, often the colors don't look right. At least for me, when I'm doing the detailing, I can try to make it come across or look the best I can. And I'm still improving. I've got a lot of room to improve. Oh, but here's the blending that I was talking about. And when I like to use it in some areas, you'll notice that I won't use it everywhere, just in really low detail spots. And then I'll switch back and do more details, but I think that at this point I'm pretty much done with the figure. I may add some small things that I'll see, but I'm going to work on the shadow, because that's what nails it down to the ground plane. As a matter of fact, I can think that because I've been learning Blender, which is a 3D art program, that it has allowed me to understand dimensionality quite a bit more. And if you get the chance, look into Blender, because it's a free 3D modeling software. It's also sculpting, it's also drawing. But the fact is that it's free, it's well documented, and it's a lot of fun to mess with. And I may put some of that stuff on here. I'm working on the link sculpture, so I may share that when it's more finished. But I really want to get that more nailed down and pretty much more finished like I have it here, because it is a fun process. So I really think that you should check that out. Blender is really good. But that's really as far as we're gonna go today. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to all this, because this is hard for me to emote. I feel silly. But again, thank you for joining me on my channel, TaitanoArt. You have a great day.